Hello everyone, it's Micah. Welcome to several new things. Number one, welcome to my new setup for my videos. After months and months of perching in this here bar stool right here and attempting to be relaxed while I was really afraid I was going to topple onto the floor at any given moment, now I am in a seating situation which is much more comfortable for me, and hopefully that will translate into how these videos come across. That is my hope, and the reason why I'm bringing up this totally uninteresting detail of these videos to you. But more importantly, this is the first of my recap countdown videos. So without further ado, I'm going to go to a script, and I'm not going to be coy about the fact that I'm going to be doing this from a script, whereas most of my moments have been painfully unscripted in these videos over the past several months. At times painfully. At times I've been pretty surprised with what I've been able to come up with. But at any rate, let's get off of me and my self-critiques of my videos, and let's get on to this very important countdown. Very important to me anyway. So as a coda to my YouTube series reacting to each of the Billboard Hot 100 top hits of each calendar year, I decided to undertake the unserious and impossible task of ranking all the songs I've listened to over the past 8 months in this reaction series. This is what I've been calling my Tuesday reaction series, because I generally more or less have been publishing these on Tuesdays of each week. And this is a countdown of the top Billboard hits from the years 1946 to 1979. So although there is a methodology here, it should be taken with a grain of salt, since all measures are subjective and colored by my own personal biases and impressions. At the end of the day, this is mostly a ranking of how much I enjoyed listening to each song. First, I took all 36 songs that I have reacted to that are listed on Wikipedia as being the Billboard top pop hits of each year, over the period from, like I said, 46 to 79. There are 2 extra songs, because that's a 34-year span, because 2 years had 2 records that are listed due to restatements by Billboard. First they said one song was the top song, and then they recalculated and then said another. But I chose to react to both songs in each instance. So this is a ranking of those 36 songs. The judging criteria, in order of importance, are how much I personally enjoyed the song, which is 10 points, how successful the record was on its own terms, which is 10 points, artistry and quality of the music, which is 10 points, and impact, like cultural impact, musical impact, broader social impact, 5 points. Any ties in these total scores were broken by how high each song scored in the most important category, then the next most important category, and so on. And any further ties were broken by my own personal judgment, because it's my countdown and I can do what I want. The second criterion might seem like a bit of an oddball. How successful was the record on its own terms? But this speaks to the central philosophy of this reaction series, and to my tagline, Make Music Better, which includes being, I guess, musically empathetic. Understand what were the music creators trying to do when they made the record, not imposing our external values of what it should have done on it. So that's what that criterion is about. So without further ado, let's get into the countdown. I will not be playing any music, because I do not want to clear 36 different copyrights with this video. So if you would like to listen to each of the reaction videos, they are all on my channel under the heading of top Billboard hits of each year. Now keep in mind, I'm doing a separate series on the years 19, or I did just completed another series that I was doing on Monday nights, which ran from the years 1990 to 2023. So each of the number 1 hits of those years are in a separate series, and they're all under the same heading here of top Billboard hits of each year. But you can find all 36 of these reaction videos, minus the couple that were taken down, on my channel. So I would encourage you to go back and listen to those if you're in any way interested in doing that. Also keep in mind that how I remember the song and how I've had a chance to digest a song in the months or weeks since I've listened to it originally might cause it to have a different ranking than you might expect from the original reaction video. So all those disclaimers out of the way, let's get started with the countdown. Number 36, starting us off, lowest ranking is The Ballad of the Green Berets by Staff Sergeant Barry Sadler from the year 1966. The military stoicism of this record makes it a singular entry on this list, but it listens like a semi-musical PSA for elite soldiers who, by virtue of who they are as elite soldiers, already receive oodles of recognition. Just not enough artistry or empathy in this track elicited for me to get excited about. So thank you for your service, but no thank you for asking me to listen to this stilted recording. Lowest score of 19 out of 35 points here. Number 35, Goodnight Irene by Gordon Jenkins and the Weavers from 1950. This low ranking is no reflection on the poignant and heartbreaking lyrics of this lead-belly folk standard or of the honorable intentions behind its recording. The unfortunate impression that it renders to modern ears is that of a historical recreation of a folk song rather than a first-hand recording with its own personality. The jarring dissonance of the vocal styles of the performers make it sound confused and uncentered from an artistic perspective. I gave this 20 out of 35 points. Number 34, The Battle of New Orleans, or The Battle of Micah's critique of the Battle of New Orleans, as it has come to be known on my YouTube channel. So slightly off topic here, this is my highest viewed reaction video of this series and actually of the entire channel. It has over 4 times the views of the next video with the next most views and probably more views than all of these others combined. I apparently stirred up a bit of controversy by saying that romanticizing war and destruction is not a vibe that I personally tap into. Who knew that my listening preferences and disdain for death would be controversial? I just didn't connect with the slapstick presentation of wiping out countless British soldiers in the name of promoting patriotism. I do give Johnny Horton credit for a great vocal performance, though. 21 out of 35 points. Number 33, Near You by Francis Craig. Here I should address what I'm going to call recency bias, although that's a misuse of the cognitive bias term. The very early records on this list tend to rank lower, likely because I'm not aligned with the aesthetics of music from decades before I was born. There's nothing wrong with this record. It just seems like an idle, finger-snapping ditty being crooned on a street corner, inoffensive but unremarkable. It got 22 out of 35 points. Number 32, Tossin' and Turnin' by Bobby Lewis from 1961. Similarly, this record seems like a spirited but unremarkable R&B rock and roll retread of earlier musical tropes from Chuck Berry and Jerry Lee Lewis. It probably should be ranked higher, if I'm being honest, since it received the lowest score of any song on this list on Impact, despite being famously featured in the film Animal House. The fact that I personally have been listening to pop and rock music for several decades and had never heard the song until I reacted to it, it was the primary reason for the low score in Impact. So if I had to do it over, but I didn't want to continually restate and overthink what I was doing. So I'm sticking with my original score, but I do concede that maybe this should be ranked a little higher. And I do have a bit of hypocrisy that I'm going to call myself out on later on in the countdown related to how I ranked this track. But I'm going with my initial ranking, number 32, with 22 out of 35 points. Number 31, Sugar Shack by Jerry Gilmer and the Fireballs from 1963. Here is where we transition from songs that I didn't particularly enjoy listening to songs that I did. It is important to level set that all of these songs are the top performing monster hits of each calendar year, so the competition here is elite. Among the elite, having said that, Sugar Shack is in the lower tier. It's fun, it's catchy, it's pop rocky in a very endearing way. So just to coin a term or a phrase that became very popular during the run of American Bandstand, the indiscriminate young reviewers of that show typically said, it has a nice beat and you can dance to it. That pretty much sums up this song. 22 out of 35 points also. Number 30, Woolly Bully by Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs from 1965. Circling back on the Animal House nod above, this seems like another noisy frat rock anthem. And I think I just have a limited tolerance for songs like this. This record reminds me a lot of Louie Louie, and it creates an irresistible urge to mash potato or to headbang, or perhaps both. So it's mindless speaker blasting fun in that tradition, and I ranked it accordingly. It gets 25 out of 35 points. The number 29 song I reacted to in this series, 12th Street Rag by Pee Wee Hunt from 1948. So this song listens like a primer on Boogie Woogie and Ragtime, and a primer is really what I definitely need on those musical forms. I'm not highly discriminating a listener on those older music forms. For me, though, it sounded like a delightful pre-rock era jam session, and I liked it a lot. 25 out of 35 points. Number 28, Silly Love Songs by Wings from 1976. So this to me was a breezy Sunday afternoon cruising record. It's a cheeky Paul McCartney composition. It offers a winning meta perspective, and I like the word meta. You'll hear me use that word a lot, and I enjoy it. I like sinking my teeth into things that are self-referential or reference the fact that they are that these are that this is a song, and I'm singing a song, and I'm singing you a song. I like songs that sort of step outside of themselves and reference things in their environment rather than being, self-contained. That's one thing I kind of like. I like the perspective here on the subject matter of love songs, singing a love song by singing about how love songs are silly. And it has a killer arrangement, but it doesn't quite deliver a knockout punch that makes it particularly memorable beyond that. So I gave this 25 out of 35 points. We're going to number 27, Joy to the World by Three Dog Night from 1971. This song wins for psychedelic quirkiness and a rootsy rock instrumentation. It's hard to argue with a classic like this one, but I have little desire to add it to my playlist, so this middling ranking is a function of my fickle taste in music, so apologies to anyone who thinks I should rank this higher. I don't really have a good reason. Just not quite my thing. 26 out of 35 points. Still a great song. Number 26, Tie a Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree by Tony, Orlando, and Dawn from 1973. The longest song title on this countdown. And it's also one of the best melodies of the whole chart here. It's a sweet It's a sweet, folksy pop ballad and a breath of fresh air. If I were a little less jaded about wistful, sunshiny sing-alongs, which I can be from time to time, this probably would rank a lot higher. I give it 27 out of 35 points. Number 25, To Sir With Love by Lulu. Now, I see this as a template for how to write a movie song. The intimately woven lyrics are perhaps a bit too tied to the film to make the song resonate universally. Still, Lulu's modern conversational singing style and the more freeform song construction make this one of the more interesting records on this countdown. I gave it 27 out of 35 points. Number 24, Blue Tango by Leroy Anderson from 1952. Adjectives that come to mind for this song, soaring, resonant, dynamic, majestic, and so on. I don't necessarily go for orchestral arrangements like this, but when it's executed this perfectly, I can't help but dance along. I may have been just dancing in my mind, but I was tangoing with this Blue Tango, and I gave it 27 out of 35 points. Okay, another disclaimer here. Number 23, Theme from a Summer Place by Percy Faith from 1960. So there's a cluster of orchestral and instrumental tracks in this section of the chart, of the rankings here, because it's hard for me to score them outside of a narrow range as anything other than solid, unimpeachable musicianship. This is where my lack of exposure to these musical styles becomes obvious. In other words, I didn't really have enough of an opinion on these to think of them as anything other than really good instrumentals. This particular one reminds me of a peaceful drive in the country, like the opening credits of the 1980s sitcom Newhart, which had its own gorgeous theme from Henry Mancini. And I think that's musically where I'm taken by this song as well. I gave it 27 out of 35 points. Number 22, All Shook Up by Elvis Presley. Definitely not an instrumental here or orchestral. This is from 1957, and the seismic shift in popular music that Elvis signaled is in full evidence here. The expressive vocals, the unmoored soul influence, and the electricity of a new musical era is all here, but to my ears, it's already in 1957 beginning to transmute into Blue Hawaii territory. 28 out of 35 points. Number 21, Cherry Pink and Apple Blossom White from 2 years earlier, 1955, by Perez Prado. The clockwork mambo rhythm, upstaged by the mischievous showboating of the trumpet, make this rollicking track stand out among what were likely hundreds of big band style singles that were around at the dawn of the rock era. I gave this one 28 out of 35 points. Number 20, Song from Moulin Rouge, Percy Faith, 1953. I love this track for the gorgeous instrumental iteration of its melody, followed by an equally captivating vocal re-performance of the same theme, which underlines and bolds and italicizes the tuneful heart of this record. 28 out of 35 points. Number 19, Riders in the Sky, Vaughn Monroe and his orchestra from 1949. This record almost made it to the top half of this ranking on reputation alone. So in case you hadn't noticed, we're halfway to the top. Out of 36 songs, this is number 19. Starting on the next one, we'll be in the top half of the countdown. So this song actually scored third worst in the most important category, which is how much I enjoyed the song. But because of how iconic and indisputably masterful the song is, it still makes it up to this chart of number 19. My personal quibble is that I just don't enjoy the vocal performance on it. Number 18, kicking off the top half of the ranking, is the only foreign language record here. This is Volare by Domenico Modugno from 1958, as I said. The conviction and romanticism in evidence in this record is palpable. That's another one of my words, palpable. It's so convincing that even a non-believer like me got invested in Modugno's performance. I think the clip that we watched with this song really kind of helped ingratiate it to me. So I definitely enjoyed this. I gave it 29 out of 35 points. Number 17, Tonight's the Night by Rod Stewart from 1977. So it's entirely possible this record would rank much lower if Janet Jackson hadn't remade it, but I like to think that it has enough inherent value in Rod Stewart's capable hands that I still would have seen the brilliance in the songwriting and acknowledged it for the great record it is, even without that. Rod's signature rasp just sends it over the top here into classic territory. I gave it 29 out of 35 points. Number 16, Stranger on the Shore by Mr. Ackerbilk. I still smile at the way that the record was originally credited as Mr. At any rate, two things stand out here: the melody and the clarinet. Well, obviously he was a clarinet player, but it's just so perfect. The playing on this and the melody of it as well. Both were perfect. Both were dreamy. Just a beautiful record. It's as simple as that. 29 out of 35 points. Number 15, Little Things Mean a Lot by Kitty Callan from 1954. I especially enjoy female vocalist and Callan's disarming singing, which sounds remarkably unaffected given the era, because to my mind, female vocalists generally sounded a little stilted and operatic at the time. Her style, though, really lights up what is already a great lyric. In describing the perfect little gifts of love, as the song does, the song becomes inadvertently self-referential. 29 out of 35 points. All right, up to number 14, Surfing USA by the Beach Boys, 1963. This is another track like Riders in the Sky that owes its high ranking largely to its massive influence. This one is like witnessing an entire subgenre being fully self-actualized. Surf rock is not my go-to by any means, but the legendary harmonies and stacked arrangements are nothing to sneeze at even for a non-fan like myself. 30 out of 35 points. And this is also the record that I wanted to highlight, where there's a definite disconnect between putting this at number 14 and putting Bobby Lewis down in the lower part of the rankings in the 30s, saying that it was derivative of Chuck Berry, of all people, when Surfing USA was a direct lift of the melody of Sweet Little 16, but still, even though it's derivative, very, very derivative to the point of it just being different lyrics to the same song, made it up to number 14. Again, I credit that to the impact and my overall understanding of the sonic innovations of the Beach Boys, but still there's a fair degree of inconsistency in how I ranked those two songs, and I'm going to call myself out on it, but I'm not going to restate my countdown positions here. So duly noted. Number 13, I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles from 1964. So this is the part of the countdown where we shift into overdrive, and each record here from here on out is a WTF moment in a good way in the cultural lexicon. This atom bomb of adolescent excitement pretty much embodies Beatlemania, which was a real and culture-shifting phenomenon in the 60s. So much so that even though I wasn't even around to witness it, I could feel the aftershocks into my childhood. So this was pretty much what kicked it off in the U.S. anyway. Number 12, Prisoner of Love by Perry Como from 1946. So this is the oldest entry, as you can plainly see. We only go back to the top song of 46, and this was the entry from 46, and it's the only 1940s record to crack the upper half of this countdown. So why is that? Well, it's Perry freaking Como. Need I say more? So he offers a vocal here that you can't refuse. See what I did there? And the croon, Perry Como's croon, can reduce you to a puddle, convinced that he absolutely can't escape the clutches of love on this track. So I enjoyed it quite a bit. And it was, you know what? And I think my reaction video for this was a lot less enthusiastic because it was one of my very first. I think it was the second video I ever did of all the reaction videos I've done. And I really wasn't attuned to, various things. I think I was more interested in making sure I didn't look absolutely ridiculous, although I think I failed at that. I was still really learning the ropes, and I don't even know that I gave a clear-headed reaction to the song so much. But upon further reflection, it definitely counts as one of the better songs I listened to in the series. Number 11, Sugar Sugar by the Archies from 1969. So my entirely unsubstantiated opinion is that this song is the template for every boy band smash that followed over the ensuing 50 years. When reacting, I felt like I was listening to an unreleased Backstreet Boys song. This gets my vote as the single catchiest song on this list, close second to Tony Orlando and Dawn. And there's an underlying glow to this record that feels very much like a sugar high, which of course is very appropriate given the title. I gave this 30 out of 35 points. Now we're into the top 10. Number 10, Hey Jude by the Beatles from 1968. So there was an uncanny feeling while I was listening to the song that we've all been collectively humming this song under our breaths for the past 56 years without realizing it. How a song can be so epic and so personal at the same time is a mystery which perhaps only Sir Paul could explain to us. I gave it 31 out of 35 points. Number 9, My Sharona by the Knack from 1979. Now, this is the correct usage of the term recency bias. As you may remember, I used that earlier. So I just filmed the reaction to this song, I guess a week or so ago now, and was super impressed with how raw and essentially rock and roll that it sounded. That feeling could fade with the passage of time. In other words, it's only been a week since I reacted to this. I might rank this lower if I were to redo this in a few months from now. So I enjoyed the wild rhythms of this song so much that I'm not even dinging it for the objectionable lyrical content, but I am mentioning it. 31 out of 35 points. Number 8, Shadow Dancing by Andy Gibb from 1978. This track breaks into the top tier for one reason: nuance. Nuance is another word that I love saying, that I love using. It's also one of my favorite musical qualities. Big, bold sing-alongs are great and all. My Sharona as an example. But when a song turns inward and explores shades of gray within its own disciplined sonic boundaries, that's when stuff can get really interesting. And when a song is nuanced and still dominates the charts, that's pretty special. And this record is that. I gave it 31 out of 35 points. Number 7, The Way We Were by Barbra Streisand. I was corrected when I did the video. Like many other people, I pronounced a Z, and it's not a Z, it's an S. This is number 7. Barbara is owed all of our respect and all of our correct pronunciations. So since I like female vocalists, this one was a shoo-in for the top part of the countdown. In addition to the effect of this song on popular culture, the stunning vocals and Barbara's mere presence in a recording studio give this one an unfair advantage over most of the other tracks I reacted to in this series. So number 7, 32 out of 35 points. Number 6, Heartbreak Hotel by Elvis Presley. Forget about Rock Around the Clock. Heartbreak Hotel is essentially ground zero of the rock revolution. A tough, bluesy, unapologetic, sexy drag of a song that confounds all expectations and breaks all the rules of decorum about what a pop record should be. This is the sound of a culture shifting in real time. 33 out of 35 points. Number 5, Love Will Keep Us Together by Captain and Tennille from 1975. So, I will talk about the elephant in the room now. You thought because I gave Elvis unqualified praise in the last entry that I wasn't going to mention this, but here it is. Black music is the foundation for so many of the great moments we are celebrating in this countdown. Heartbreak Hotel is basically a blues record, and hundreds or even thousands of blues records were available to the public before anyone even heard of Elvis. That being said, Love Will Keep Us Together was written by Neil Sedaka for Diana Ross to sing, and it clearly harkens back to the doo-wop swing of the Motown era. So this is more or less a Motown-inspired song. And Tony Tennille's brilliant vocal and the duo Captain and Tennille's lively arrangement probably had Diana facepalming all the way back from the bank. And the inspiration here is unmistakable. This is the best Motown track that Berry Gordy had nothing to do with. 33 out of 35 points. Number 4, Too Young by Nat King Cole from 1951. So here we have the top-ranking 50s record on the countdown. Nat King Cole probably seemed a bit square by the end of the 1950s, but the resonant strains of this record have outlasted the noisy sonic birthings of rock, reggae, punk, and hip-hop, and still sound as pure in their yearning as they did over 60 years ago. I gave this one a near-perfect score, 34 out of 35 points. Number 3, The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face by Roberta Flack from 1972. So for this one, the calm, space, and silence in this record is, here's my word, palpable. How such an introspective and intimate record succeeded on such a large scale is not something I can explain, but I'm sure glad it happened. I gave it also 34 out of 35 points. Now we're down to the top 2. Both of them received a perfect score, and I just picked which one I thought deserved it a little bit more than the other. So here are our top 2, both with perfect scores by my, as I said, unserious scoring system. Number 2, California Dreamin' by the Mamas and the Papas from 1966. So this one scored perfect because it's gorgeous, innovative, and inhabits its own sonic universe. Hazy, dreamlike, and beautifully confused. Sort of like the experience of being human. And number one, without any additional fanfare, Bridge Over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel from 1970. Again, how can a song be epic and folksy, classical and pop, soaring and down to earth all at the same time? As with the other great songs on here that bridge those gaps between the musical dichotomies that they seem to span, I don't know how they did it. I'm not sure how they did it, but the proof is in the song. Listen to it. It's 5 soaring minutes of music history, and it's great enough that I put it above all these other records. The music police are coming after me. I guess I've made several egregious mistakes in the course of this countdown. But you, dear listener, can let me know in the comments what mistakes I did make. What do you think should have been ranked higher? What do you think should have been ranked lower? Ultimately, I'm so happy that I took the time to undertake this project and listen to all 36 of these songs, many of which I was not at all familiar with, and some of which I thought I was familiar with, but when I took a close listen, I realized there were things about them that I did not know. And I'm, as you can see, I'm at this point enthusiastic about 80% of them, and I'm very, very happy that I listened to them, and I have mostly good things to say about them, and I'm just really glad that I undertook the project and that I enriched my knowledge of music, and this will goad me on toward doing other reacting to an even broader range of music in the future. And so definitely stay tuned to this channel for more reactions. I'll be able to dig in and do more in different things now that this reaction series is over. But again, let me know what you think in the comments of this countdown. And in the meantime, if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you feel so inclined, you may subscribe to the channel so you'll see what I'm up to going forward. And please always make music better.